Hello guys, today I'm hoping to have a little bit of different video. This isn't going to be gameplay. I'm not coming up with some strategy or something, anything like that. I very simply have a problem with Malta. And that is, I think Malta has a bit of an identity crisis. And I think that identity crisis is not that they don't know what they are, they know exactly what they are. And it's basically that they have pretty much one strategy, at least in my experience. This is what I've seen people do. This is what I do. It's one strategy, and they do it really well, but there's not much variety. Now, there's variations of this strategy, but it's pretty simple. You just build defenses until you hope you can get ahead of your opponent in some eco or get some sort of mass. And you know you can focus on getting one unit really good, the expo. You either get your expos good or you get your sentinels and fire throwers good. It's pretty much you focus on one unit, get it good, and hope your defenses hold up until you can beat best your opponent. Now there are a few other things. There's there's a few other things you can do, like an expo rush and things like that. And it's fine. It's not great. When Malta first came out, it worked really well, but nowadays it doesn't seem to. So I just want to talk about a few things today that I think could make Malta much more versatile in their strategy and not so reliant on their defenses. Now, the plan to what I would like them to change to is exactly that. But here's the thing. I think Malta should be reliant on defenses for winning. You have to have your defenses to win, but your defenses aren't the reason you win. If that makes sense. It makes sense in my head that they're like, right now the reason I win most games is because I get age 4 and I send the 2 forts card and they can't push me, and then I can push them. That's basically every game. So here, let me just speed always wins, and I'll talk about a few cards and a few changes that I think I would like to see. It really only starts age 3 though. Age 2, I think they're perfectly fine civ up to age 2, but once you get age 3, age 4, they really start just being kind of boring and one-sided. Now, I won't say boring because honestly, Malta is the most fun playing Malta. I've ever had more fun playing Age of Empires 3. The explosions, I just love the defenses and everything like that. But there are a few things about them I don't like, which is that if you play them the way they're supposed to be played, which are defenses and get age 4 and best them with one unit, people say F you and rage quit. Or either that, or you play against a civ that just absolutely destroys you. There's nothing you can do about it. So that's basically it. I messed up, speed always wins. So let's get age 3. So here's a few cards I want to talk about. There's a couple of cards. Actually, let's get on to that later. Let's first talk about the fixed gun. That's the first change I would like to see. So right now the fixed gun is pretty nice because you get age 3, you get it out, it builds fast. But here's the problem. It builds fast, but once you have it, if you're playing against a Japan or anyone with any really good siege or colves or anything like that, your fixed gun's worthless. There are very many things that make the fixed gun not very viable age 3. If you're playing against Ottomans, all they build is Hambaraki. There's nothing you can do against them, and just certain things like that. Now I think that, but if you're playing against certain civs, this fixed gun is overpowered. Like against Portuguese, play against Portuguese. You place this up near their forward town center, it builds real fast, you win the game. So there are a few civs that they're way too strong against, but it's like very lopsided. It's either way too strong or way too weak. So the first change I would make there is make their HP more, but make them build not as fast. So it'll allow players like Portuguese player a little bit more time to prepare forward against a forward fixed gun. But once that fixed gun is there, it won't go down so easily to like Hambarakis and things such as that. So that is the first change I would make, and it goes down pretty fast. So like Colves get double multipliers against them because there's artillery and buildings. So that's one thing. Now the other card, which I want to look at changing. Here, let me just go ahead and age this up. The other, not exactly a card, but the other building I want to look at change, well, it is a card, is this 2 Fort Wagons card. Now, this 2 Fort Wagons card is one of the most important cards. If you don't have this in your Malta deck, you're doing something wrong. At least in my experience and from what I've seen other players. And the reason that this card, I think, needs changed is that it's either too strong or too weak. Same as the fixed gun. The fixed gun's either too strong or too weak, and that's how this card is. Now, this card, if you're playing against certain civs that don't have great mortars or anything like that, it's very strong, and you can drop those 2 down, and you are not punishable. You can age 4, get 2 forts, and you're not punishable, especially paired with the 1 for age up going age 4. So you can go age 4, get down 3 forts, and you are not pushable unless you're going up a few civs. Japan can build mortars, insane mortars, out of their daimyo or whatever, and they can beat you to that age 4. So it's either very punishable by civs with good mortars and good cannons, or not punishable by all with civs that are not. So the change I would do for this age 4 card is very similar to the change I would make to the fixed gun. Make this card where it gives your forts more HP. I don't know exact number, but maybe 20% or 30% or whatever. But change it from shipping 2 Fort Wagons and +2 build limit to +2 build limit and an HP boost. Now, this will allow you in your late game to still get all your forts, and it will even make them a little bit stronger, but you can't just get age 4 and just spam out 2 or 3 forts all of a sudden. So that's the change I would make to this card. There are 2 other cards which I wanted to talk about. One is wall guns, the other is fire towers. If you saw my video, I looked at a few of Malta's unique abilities. The burning thing for the fire throwers, well, it's not exactly unique, but they're the main thing I see them used on the burning ability. But I also looked at wall guns and fire towers and whether or not they are worth it. And what I determined is they're absolutely worthless. There is no reason to send these 2 cards. From what I looked up about wall guns is essentially wall guns were mini cannons. They were sort of like a bus guns in a way. Now, not exactly, but they were like very large muskets. Now, and what they were used for was, as the picture shows here, it actually is pretty nice, is they propped it up on walls or just propped it up on something, and they could shoot really far and deal lots of damage to sappers and anyone trying to attack your building. So they do this card somewhat works that way, or it actually represents that fairly well, I would say. You build a wall, you get sort of more range, more damage. But I think there would be a better way to represent what wall guns did while also making this card worth it. And these are my changes. I have this written down, so let me look at this. This is my change to the wall guns. So what you do is it costs wood and coin the more sentinels you have, and the reason being, it equips each of your sentinels with a wall gun, your current sentinels. It doesn't allow you to build sentinels with wall guns. It equips your current sentinels with wall guns. So what this does, it equips them with wall guns. They lose the spear, but they get more range, more damage, and they deal siege damage while also being slower. So what this would turn your sentinels into is a sort of a bus, suave, fusilier, musketeer mix. It's very much a suave mixed with a bus gun. Now, I don't think this would overpower it if you increase the cost of its cost per sentinel, and also it wouldn't allow you to spam these units long term. And with making them slow, they wouldn't be able to punish buildings too much and things like that. And I think this would be a good representative of the sort of mini cannon it was, while also not making it broken and making it not useless as it is right now. So I want to know y'all's thoughts on that. I actually did make a forum post about goes into more detail exactly how that would work, so I would suggest changing it out. But basically, in the most simple terms, it turns your sentinels into a bus that's not a skirm. The other card that I want to look at is the Fire Towers card. Now, as I found out from the Fire Towers cards, this is possibly the worst card to send. I had it in all my decks just because I thought it was cool, but it's very much worthless. So, Age 3, it actually is worth, like, the damage is actually a good bonus, but the damage it does is not worth a card Age 3, even though it does upgrade your towers. Now, it does a good bit better against Skirm. If you send this card, your towers will do a lot better against Skirm, slightly better against Cav, no better against anything else. The reason being that it changes your towers from dealing range damage against Skirm to dealing siege damage, therefore ignoring the range resist, also giving a little bit of area. So that's really the only difference, is it's a little better against Skirm. So not worth sending at all. And Age 4, once you go past Age 4 and your towers get a bombard attack, it's especially not worth it because now you're already ignoring range resist on range resist units. And it's even worse against Cav because not only will it no longer, but now it's even worse against Cav. Like, this card will actively make your bombard towers worse against Cav because the fire attack doesn't have a multiplier against Cav like the bombard thing does. So it'll ignore range resist, but the bombard thing does. But the bombard thing has a multiplier against Cav, and the fire ability does not. So the change I would do to this would be to basically just enlarge the area damage and enlarge the damage. Enlarge the area and enlarge the damage. So let's go ahead and send this actually. It does send fast, so I don't need a speed always wins. But if we just look at this here, we can actually see this. So it's 10. So it's 10 to 0.5 speed. So at 6, let me actually do this. So it does about 60 damage in the time this does 45. So 45. Let me just do this math real quick. 45 times 1.5. 67.5. So this does 67.5 versus Cav, and this does 60. But this ignores range resist. That's why it's actually somewhat useful. Age 3 is because Hussars and things like that have range resist, and it'll ignore that, but also Skirm have range resist. So Age 3, it's worth an upgrade, but it's not worth a card. Like, if this was just an upgrade, it might be worth it, but it's not worth taking up space in your deck. It's not worth spending all that experience points to send that card. So let me go and also... You know what, let's just upgrade this, and we can see what I was talking about with it being worthless Age 4. Wins. Okay, so now Age 4, its fire attack did up a little bit, and now it'll do 69 damage, I believe. No, I mean 13 times 6. I think I did that wrong. 13 times 6. 78 damage. Okay, 78 damage. Ignoring range resist, pretty good, one area. But Age 4, this is worthless because the bombard attack is 60, 3 area attack, and 1.5 against Cav. That's 90 damage against Cav. So once you go Age 4, this is actually a nerf. Now these Cav will want to run up to your tower and siege it up close. So it's just a worthless card. Both of these are fairly worthless cards. And I think what I would suggest is upping the damage, upping the area of the fire attack for these. I think that would make it worth it. You know, people might not send it Age 3, but it could be worth late game usage. And I also think my wall gun idea would make this card also usable. Let me know what y'all think about all these changes. I'm not like hard pressed on these absolutely need to happen, but I think something needs to be done to make Malta more well-rounded and not so one-sided on a strategy. Now, I want to be someone who doesn't just say there's a problem. I want to also present a problem, so I hope that's to present a fix to the problem. So I hope I presented that here and maybe gave y'all some ideas. So let me know what y'all think, whether or not you think these card changes would be cool, and what else you would like to see. So I'll see y'all next time.